Goedemorgen aan al onze kijkers. Vandaag hebben we een speciale gast, Mark Jennings, de CEO van Gemini Europe. Good afternoon, Mark. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can't complain. I'm very excited for this interview, so thank you for your time. I want to go straight into a bit. You've worked in fintech and crypto for a bit, so maybe just give us a bit about your own background in crypto or how you got started to give our readers a bit of an insight into you as well.
My crypto journey started in 2018. I realized the kind of financial infrastructure being based in the US and having spent a lot of time traveling, the inefficiency of traditional finance and the markets, how we managed to transfer assets across to different countries, realizing that was broken and there was something that really needed to fix that. And I saw cryptocurrency was the solution. And I think, over time it's been proven we want to build a better, more open, transparent financial ecosystem. We need to adopt cryptocurrency more so to do that. I've been working directly in crypto for the last 5 years. I've joined Gemini in 2024 in December to lead Europe. And, the ecosystem has continued to grow, scale, and evolve over the last number of years. And I find it a really exciting time now to be here.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I want to go a bit into, obviously, Gemini is now operating under MiCA and MiFID license. What does that exactly allow Gemini to do in Europe that wasn't essentially possible before, and how does it shape the product strategy? Because obviously Gemini was in Europe before in 2023, but then had to close down. So just want to know a bit of how this has changed everything.
So prior to MiCA being implemented, there was a very fragmented regulatory structure in Europe. And Gemini's history since its founding in 2014 was to focus on regulatory first. We always asked for permission. And I think that was a tenet that we really wanted to grow upon. So what did MiCA allow us to do? It allowed us to facilitate growth across Europe by getting a license which allows us to operate out of our regulatory headquarters in Malta, but also to passport into the different jurisdictions across Europe. So we could align our resources to be able to build a unified platform that was available across all 30 jurisdictions and countries in Europe. So MiCA was a really strong, piece of legislation for us to be able to build and grow our business here in Europe, because we were able to operate under that kind of single regulatory framework. And I think that's allowed the ecosystem in Europe to give clear direction on how the players can, participate in the market and be able to operate a crypto exchange here.
I see. And now I see that, the product offerings have also expanded because of this, so now Gemini offers staking, spot trading, and regulated derivatives in Europe. How do you see these pieces fitting together, and what kind of user are you targeting for this offering? Retail, institutional, both active and passive users?
So we actually offer tokenized equities as well within Europe, which is another key kind of offering that we've been able to utilize given the MiFID license we obtained as well back in May of 2025. We see Gemini as a kind of comprehensive all-in-one platform, and it allows you, as you mentioned, to trade a number of different assets across our spot exchange. It allows you to trade perps, which will allow you to take a market position, whether it be long and short on some of those assets. You then supplement your portfolio with tokenized equities across some of the biggest names in US equities, along with some index funds associated with that. And then you can earn passive yield on your Solana and your ETH by staking that with Gemini as well. So we believe with our comprehensive platform and product offering, we actually serve those who are new to their crypto journey and are looking to get access to a regulated platform, which very simple access to bring your fiat funds on platform and be able to trade the assets you want. To those more advanced traders who are looking to take market positions long and short, those who are looking to just earn a passive yield and maybe then supplement their portfolio with some of those traditional financial assets they can hold in a tokenized format as well. So we feel we service a number of different customers based on the flavor of assets and kind of their way of interpreting the markets themselves. So what we see is we're able to support multiple cohorts across the business, across what we would call our Gemini mode, but also our more advanced active trader mode. And so it really is down to the user and how they want to access the platform. And we give them the tools to do it.
I definitely want to touch more as well on the tokenized stocks. But first, before that, I want to, derivatives are quite I want to talk about that and touch upon how it's quite a major growth area. We've seen obviously the rise of stuff like Hyperliquid and recently Asterdex. Of course, these are decentralized examples, but can you walk us maybe through Gemini's approach to perpetuals and leverage, and is that any different to what other platforms might offer, such as Bybit or Binance or other ones available in Europe?
So I think very clearly Gemini is a regulated platform operating under a MiFID license in Europe, and I think we're one of the few who can offer such a broad product set under that regulatory umbrella. And what we offer is that regulated platform gives you an ability to take a market position long and short on the contracts that we offer, which at the moment is Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, but we'll also look to extend that further. So what it allows you to do is take the assets that you hold on platform and put them into your derivatives account in order to trade on a strategy that suits you best. What we see with perpetuals and derivatives in general is it is a much higher market cap when you look at the underlying kind of spot markets themselves. And that's very similar to the traditional financial model as well. I think derivatives are generally, 2-3x bigger in terms of a marketplace than your spot would be. So what we see is it gives somebody the ability to leverage the assets that they hold on platform to be able to decide their leverage size when they want to trade, but also it helps them to hedge and risk manage their position, because we see it's a more efficient way to take a market position if that's what you're looking to do. Gemini does that all in active trader. So you have it in an all-in-one platform. We have a dual market view, which would allow you to see the underlying spot as well as the perp market and be able to make your trading choices on the back of that. We feel like that's a really innovative way to understand that derivatives are similar to the spot market, but also different. And there's different mechanics underlying the actual contract, whether that's the funding rate, whether that's the size that you take. So really intuitive and gives you the ability to kind of take that market position you're looking to do.
I see. And with the staking, currently you only offer Ethereum and Solana staking in Europe, if I'm not correct.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and how do you ensure things like security, liquidity, or regulatory clarity for users who stake via your platform? So
we've obviously got the regulatory clarity around the custody is being offered by Gemini's Europe platform. I think when we look at operating all of our own infrastructure to support Solana and ETH staking, I think is an important part of what we've developed. We feel like the technology that we're bringing is underneath the kind of the ethos and Gemini's technical nous and our ability to operate that. So we feel like that's an important part of the offering. And over the last 10 years, again, the focus on our custody, particularly when you look at what we've offered out of the US for the last 10 years, that is the genesis of why Gemini was founded. They wanted to find a place where it was a simple, safe, and secure way to be able to trade and hold your assets. And we feel like this is, doing the same on the custody side, as being able to offer that safe and secure way to earn some yield on the assets you've got. Sorry, I can't.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. I want to touch over a bit on like the tokenized stocks that you were speaking about, because it's quite an innovative thing, and it's not something that you really see offered on other platforms. So I want to know, is Europe? Would you see Europe as ahead of the US on this front, and what demand are you actually seeing from institutions and retail so far for tokenized stocks?
I think Europe, we've been able to clearly see what tokenization can do to be able to give access to European customers to these products themselves. We find that, particularly under the MiFID license that's there, it gives us a way for our European users to be able to add to their portfolio. They're active investors in crypto, but we also know that we're looking at traditional financial assets, and being able to, hold that in the same wallet that you've got your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Solana is a really innovative way to view a portfolio. And Gemini as a whole, we see our role as helping people build their Web3 wealth. And if that means it's tokenized equities as well as their crypto holdings, we want to be able to facilitate that. I think being able to access it, being able to hold it in your own wallet is a really unique feature. But I also think it kind of aligns with how people are moving. We see tokenization as being kind of the future of holding equities as a whole. I think if we see continued growth in tokenization platforms, being able to give access to all users who have their own wallet infrastructure, their own trading infrastructure, we see that as an acceleration of, cryptocurrency as a whole, and showing us where the future of finance sits. So I think we've launched it in Europe, and we've been one of the first to do that. I think, again, the regulatory certainty has been something that's allowed us to do that. I think we'll see something similar happening in the US as they continue to kind of support this as well. And all in all, I think it gives a more democratic view of how you access equities across the board in a more efficient, transparent way.
Yeah, it's definitely clear that tokenized assets has been quite the thing, with also real world assets and whatnot, but it's still fairly new for retail. How do they work in practice, and what's the main benefit compared to traditional brokerage for these things, for exposure?
So I think the key is what we're looking at is you log into your Gemini account and you can sign up for a tokenized equity account. What we're giving you then is direct access to be able to purchase that tokenized equity. So it's bought directly off one of the major exchanges and then tokenized and placed in your Gemini wallet on the platform to be able to hold it. You get the same exposure to the underlying price movement of that equity. And we feel like it's a more efficient way to be able to hold it all in one place. I think the tokenized element gives you real-time visibility, real-time settlement, and what you can do is see the returns in real time and be able to hold that and trade it as you see fit. We give 24/5 access to the markets, which again is something new to equity markets to be able to do that. And we find it aligns very well with the Gemini customer who's trading crypto on the platform and also has the ability to do that with tokenized equities. I think tokenization as a whole gives us the ability to really kind of streamline what is a kind of clunky traditional financial infrastructure, and so giving you that ease and accessibility to the US equities that we offer, along with some of the US ETFs, is a clear benefit to the customer who's looking to kind of gain that exposure and be able to invest in building their own wealth.
I see. And talking about customers, I want to touch a bit on the European user base. Obviously, this is the EU market as well. So the state of crypto, the Gemini State of Crypto report showed EU and US users behave quite differently. How do those differences, influence your product design or marketing or priorities in Europe? Does it influence that at all?
So I think if you look at some of the numbers, and I think 50% of users in Europe or thereabouts value the regulatory infrastructure being in place. And I think we're potentially skeptical of crypto prior to the MiCA being implemented, and has always looked for the regulatory certainty to be able to do or be able to get enacted in the market. So I think while the US has not had clear legislation to date, looking at what MiCA has done has meant that it gives more certainty to the European users on how they want to access the platform. So in order for us to do that, what we're looking to do is try and improve kind of the user interface so that they can see how simple, secure, and straightforward it is to open your account, be able to fund that from your bank account directly, and be able to trade as soon as those funds hit your account. I think the key for us has always been looking at, how do we make it very straightforward. How do we give them certainty as to our regulatory positioning? And the messaging we've always talked about is, again, looking for permission. I think that has been something we've driven from the start. I think when we look at the European marketplace as a whole, we've just opened an office in London recently, which will help grow out the business as we want to develop it here. I think we look for kind of developing strategic partnerships that operate within Europe and are focused on the marketplace here, because again, they differ from kind of the approach that's been taken in the US before. And then we get the biggest factor, I guess, which is localization. The US is 50 states. Europe is 30 different countries and jurisdictions with a number of different languages, different financial infrastructure that support it. And so we see localization as being a key element for us to be able to engage with the European user base in the language of their own choice, but also, working with them to understand that we recognize the country differences and the nuances to it. And we feel like that's a big differentiator for us operating in the region.
I see. Yeah, as you know, I saw that the UK, France, and Italy were named as quite like key growth markets. And seeing as our readers and viewers are in the Netherlands, I was wondering if you could say anything about the Netherlands as a market, or if you're seeing traction or growth potential there as well.
I think, look, over the last number of years, the regulatory licensing that we'd achieved was in France and Italy, but we see now the marketplace, you're focused on those big crypto users. The Netherlands has been one of the leading, I guess, adopters of crypto, and it's generated some big interest in the country. There's obviously a number of different regulated institutions in the country as well, and the regulator seems to have worked very quickly with licensing some of them. So we see that is a clear sign that the Netherlands is very forward thinking on this. And so again, now that we've got a regulatory platform to be able to operate in the jurisdiction, we'll look to expand our presence there. I think a key part of that is making sure we work with users to make our experience look and feel like a really Dutch experience, and that's something that we're continuing to grow on. So that localization is key for us, and we expect that with the marketplace operating as it does in the Netherlands and being a healthy crypto advocate, that's somewhere we would look to expand into.
Lovely. So with I guess with the MiCA regulations and the licensing that you have now, you essentially looking to expand into every country in Europe, but obviously the Netherlands being quite the important hub for such a small country. I was just a bit curious about that.
Yeah, I think, we look at it in terms of its positioning, and it has a really strong presence. I think if you look at financial markets, traditionally, even in the tech space, the Netherlands has been a kind of country which has seen growth over the last number of years in those two different verticals. And that does point to, again, it aligns with what we see with crypto, which is kind of the convergence of tech and finance. So again, all of those elements help. But to us, it's, making sure it's a, well thought out, localized strategy that focuses on the country rather than kind of releasing more broadly to the entire European country. We feel like it has to be kind of focused, and we want to make the efforts to do that the right way.
Understood. And, touching on this, European users, are there any new product or features that the European users can expect over the next few months, or any partnerships, token listings, expansions that you are excited about, that you can talk about, obviously, because I'm sure there's a lot down in the pipeline, but I'm not exactly sure what you can mention and can't mention. Yeah,
look, I think if you look over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've really started to ship in the jurisdiction. And I think if you look at tokenized equities, you look at staking, and then you look at perps, we've really expanded out the product offering there. And for us, we really want to enhance that further. So we'll be looking at further rollouts of improved UI for more of our advanced traders and what that looks like. But I think in general, we continue to iterate, we continue to enhance, we continue to improve the offering, because again, the crypto markets, they move so quickly, as do our competitors, and we want to remain at the forefront of the crypto space here in Europe. So Yeah, we've shifted a lot in the last number of months. I think, we'll continue to try and drive that forward. I think that's a key part of what we want to do and how we operate.
I think it's clear that our readers and viewers should keep the Twitter and other official pages like the blog in check to see for upcoming updates in the European market. And finally, my last question would be, what do you think will make or break the success in crypto in Europe over the next few years? Obviously there's a regulation, but, are there things like education important, infrastructure? What do you see as like the make or break success for the crypto market in Europe? I know it's a very broad question.
Yeah. I think Mika has been a really strong move for us to try and give it, it gives a level playing field across the kind of financial ecosystem, financial infrastructure. I think European investors operate differently, and they like to have that kind of secure knowledge that we're operating at a high benchmark. I think what Europe will see is kind of the integration of stable coins, the integration of cryptocurrency into kind of everyday financial infrastructure will be important. And I think that's something that will further enhance the growth of crypto across the space. We're starting to see more of that. But I think the continuing adoption by, whether it's the larger financial institutions and the other payment providers that are there, you see more partnerships taking place, which means it's clearly the way forward for the financial infrastructure that we see right now. I think if we continue to see that growth happening, the adoption, the comfort level that traditional finance sees with what we're providing, because it's not a competitive landscape anymore. We see that as, they see what the future looks like and how do they integrate and adopt it further. Gemini will look to partner across the board to be able to help that adoption as well. So we see ourselves as just, showing them the path forward. For me, I think that's where we can see regulation has helped and gives people the confidence to engage more. And I think, again, as we see what regulation has done, it brings it to, the traditional investors who want to look and add to their portfolio. They will look for those really secure, trusted partners to be able to do that. So I think crypto is starting on this journey. I think it's going to continue to move in that direction. We see kind of people bringing those intuitive products like ourselves. You bring staking to help people earn yield. You bring perps to be able to hedge your exposure and your cryptocurrency. And then you can bring tokenized equities in to enhance that with kind of the traditional markets and work from there. I think all of that shows how people will continue to move forward in Europe and be able to push crypto further.
Thank you very much. Well, it's time to wrap up the chat, but I really appreciate you explaining everything about Gemini Europe and what can be expected and what is being offered. It would be definitely very useful for our readers and viewers. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Appreciate the time, and it was great to speak to you.
No worries. Have a good day.
You too. All the best.